Do you know of someone who ruined their life in just a matter of minutes? If so, how did they do it? A guy I went to high school with got kicked out of his college ROTC and moved back home. After some time living there, his dad walked into his bedroom and went off on him about being lazy and needing to do something with his life. He decided he was going to take his gun and rob a bank. Apparently, the gun wasn't loaded, but he did successfully rob the bank and get away. Some time passed. He moved out of his parents' house and started living it up. Eventually, he told someone he trusted. That person turned him in. He was arrested and charged. He got a separate count for every person who was in the bank because he had a gun. You can decide whether he ruined his life when he decided to rob the bank or when he decided to tell someone he did it. She sold pills which contained fentanyl, and that led to the death of 2 people. The texts between her dealer are what led to her arrest and exposed that she had full and complete knowledge that the pills would result in an overdose. I do. A good friend, a very successful multimillionaire business owner, headed for a fantastic retirement, got drunk at a bar, drove home just a few miles, and ran over and seriously injured a homeless woman. Money gone, business gone, off to jail. Reputation immediately turned to shit as local media was all over it. Always take an Uber if you've been drinking at all. Always. This just happened a few months ago. My friend was hanging out in front of a local bar where his girlfriend was bartending. It was Halloween, and a drunk regular was dressed as Bill the Butcher, carrying a real knife as part of his costume, and he wasn't being discreet. The bar owner kicked him out, and while escorting him out, they got into a fight in front of the bar. The drunk guy then pulled out a gun and started shooting, killing 1 person and injuring 2 others. My friend tackled him to prevent more shootings and was shot 3 times himself. He is now a quadriplegic. I wouldn't say he ruined his life. Rather, he heroically sacrificed a huge part of it to save others. A guy I went to high school with was playing bottle rocket tag with some friends and got hit in the eye, which blinded him. He was a senior, ready to go to college on a baseball pitching scholarship. A pretty successful woman at a company I worked at got drunk and took an Uber home from a party. She realized she had left the keys to her apartment behind, so she decided to climb up to her 2nd-story balcony to get her spare set. She slipped and paralyzed herself, couldn't work for a year, racked up ridiculous medical debt, and the pandemic left her position useless, so she was let go. Oh man, something similar happened to my neighbor in high school. We lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment building, and she had been drinking at a party and forgot her keys. She decided to try to climb from the stairwell across to her balcony to sneak in, and she fell. She broke her arms and wrists, legs, and messed up something in her back, I think. I remember her mom knocking on our door the next morning to ask if we'd heard anything. She spent her junior year in a wheelchair, but she was pretty lucky, and I think she healed up okay. I had a friend who got into his car drunk with 5 other people, flipped the car, and killed one of the passengers. He went from being this charming, good-looking, likable guy to a shut-in and was seen as a monster by a lot of people in the community. He ended up committing suicide about a year after the accident. He was seriously broken over what had happened. An Army Staff Sergeant, E6, was on track to probably become the next Sergeant Major. Great guy, could lead troops, smart, motivated, and motivated others. All in all, a great soldier. After we came back from Iraq, that weekend he got a DUI and crashed into a tree, horrifically maiming the soldier in the passenger seat. The kid lost an eye and most use of his face and mouth. I didn't stay in long enough to see the outcome, but I doubt he fully recovered. 3 police officers in St. Louis were hanging out at an apartment. 2 were on duty outside of their patrol area, and 1 was off duty. One of the on-duty officers and the off-duty officer decided to play Russian roulette one night. It ended exactly how Russian roulette ends. 1 dead officer, the other in prison. He paid his drug supplier with photocopies instead of real cash, thinking they wouldn't notice. They beat him so badly that he suffered brain damage and can no longer walk. Don't fuck with the cartel. My former roommate had a great job, made good money, and had his own house where I rented a room. The only problem was he was a serious alcoholic and a terrible person. He'd get up at 4:30 a.m. to go to work, get off at 2, and then hit the bar until 11 every single night. Unless he had a girl coming over, then he'd come home at 10, do a quick cleanup of his filthy room, and have obnoxious, very loud sex. One night, he hit a guy who was riding his bike while drunk and driving his way home. He fled the scene, went home, and told a neighbor he had hit a pole. The neighbor called the police, and on the way to the house, they found the guy he hit with his front bumper next to the body. He went to jail for vehicular homicide, served 6 months, and got out. Now he lives with his parents and can't get a job because his story is somewhat infamous in our town. His sister took over his mortgage and lives in his house now. All he does all day is cry on Facebook about how life isn't fair and badmouth the guy he killed. 6 months for vehicular homicide while drunk, plus leaving the scene? What the hell? His sentence was originally 10 years, with 7 suspended. The whole punishment was a travesty of justice and a slap in the face to the man he killed and his family. The man that killed my grandfather had never so much as had a speeding ticket. He was married, with kids, and fell behind on rent. My grandfather that was in his 80s worked for the company that rented this guy his home for extra money. Grandpa couldn't reach him about his rent, so went and did a welfare check. The guy panicked and murdered my grandfather. Destroyed more than one life in a matter of 30 seconds. Third-hand story from a former coworker. One of the other Marines at the base where he was stationed in the 90s stole plastic explosives from the test range and tried to sell them at a bar that was literally in line of sight of the base. The first person to show any interest was an NCIS officer. That guy might still be in Leavenworth. A guy I went to high school with was at a bar. He talked to a girl there and she said she had a boyfriend. He said okay and left it alone. The boyfriend wasn't impressed. He waited for him to step outside for a smoke and sucker punched him. He fell, hit his head, and died. So pointless. A guy my boyfriend knows shot someone in the face for talking to his girlfriend at a bar. I saw the video of it. He towered over the other guy and could have beaten him in a fight, but instead he shot him. He had a 2-year-old daughter. Security company story. This happened before I worked there, but some co-workers told me about it. A guy was doing well at his job, got lots of promotions, and was on his way to lieutenant. But he was too into his job and got a police scanner that he would listen to. One day, just as he was getting off work, a high-speed chase went by. He hopped into his personal vehicle with his firearm, got to the front of the chase, blocked the suspect in, and pulled his gun. Suddenly, the cops were much more interested in the crazy guy with a gun. He got hit with several felony charges. When you give paramilitary ranks to security workers, you're encouraging this kind of delusion. My dad was an addict. He would take various combinations of pills, fall asleep, wake up and forget he had taken them, then take them all again. One day, he didn't wake back up. Had a friend who was 2 months away from a medical release from the military, nicely set up, and wouldn't have had to work another day in his life. He decided to get caught distributing drugs, was discharged with no medical pension, and is now in jail. Maybe not destroying his life in a matter of minutes, but definitely ruined the rest of his life with a few bad decisions in a row. There's a guy I went to school with, super smart, had a full ride to a good out-of-state college. We were seniors at the time, around 2019. A guest came in to give a presentation on World War II, including some guns with the firing pins removed. He took a picture of one while it was being passed around and posted it on Snapchat with the caption, "Don't come to school tomorrow." He got suspended, lost his scholarship, and we never really heard from him again. He's still alive as far as I know, but he's keeping a low profile. The 17-year-old girl was driving 105 miles per hour down a dark desert road at 6:35 a.m. Next week will mark 3 years since it happened. She hit me head on, and that was it for her. I drive past her memorial on the side of the road every day, and I think about how someone with so much ahead of them could lose everything due to one bad decision. I lost my teeth that day, but she lost a whole lot more. I hope her family is doing well. This is probably a very tough time for them. I'm shocked you came out of a 105 miles per hour head-on collision just losing your teeth and the lifelong haunting thoughts. I can't imagine how you or her family would ever fully move on from that. When I was in my early 20s, I worked as an energy worker in field service. One of my really close friends was someone I was on calls with regularly. A project lead pressured both of us to work on equipment we weren't qualified or trained to handle, and we unfortunately relented. We were halfway done with the task when I walked out to the truck to grab water bottles. Halfway to the truck, I heard a giant buzz, then a huge bang, then screaming. By the time I got back to the generator room, he was fully on fire. The cabinet had arc blasted, and he had been right in the way. By the time I got our fire blanket from the truck, he was basically fully engulfed. I was able to put him out and get him into as much of a recovery position as I could. Then I called our shop to organize rescue to our location. He somehow survived 80 to 90% second and third degree burns, but coded so many times he ended up with severe brain damage from oxygen deprivation. He lost his eyes, his sense of smell and taste, and much of his sense of touch. I think he lost his hearing too from the noise. He's in a vegetative state in a full-time care facility now. I had frequent nightmares for years about it. The thing that stuck with me the most was that since the arc blast hit him basically right in the face, it basically boiled his skin off. I ran in and saw him ripping large pieces of his face off while he tried to bat the flames off. The smell and sight of that never goes away. These stories are proof that life can change in a second. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your experiences. See you in the next video.